Since October 7th, all of us have been in awe at the self-sacrifice of the many soldiers who are standing at the front lines, defending our homeland, defending the Jewish people. Tragically, we've also read time and time again of the soldiers who've been ripped away from their families at too young of an age. The devastation is overwhelming. How do we properly memorialize so many people? It's too much. The Orthodox Union started an initiative called Biyachad Lanetzach to demonstrate to those in Israel that we are together, we are Biyachad, we're with you, we're thinking of you, Lanetzach, and we're going to memorialize these soldiers forever. The 3 weeks is a time that we try to rectify the disharmony that broke the Jewish people, that ripped us apart. And so specifically during this time, we're going to be reaching out to different shuls, to different leaders of the shuls to find out from them what they did, how they connected to their soldier, how they brought more unity to the Jewish people, and how they're bringing comfort to the family of their bereaved soldier.
I'm honored to be hosting a friend and colleague, Rabbi Avraham Weinrib of Zichron Eliezer in Cincinnati, Ohio, an incredible Rav who really revolutionized the Cincinnati community in many ways. Rabbi Weinrib, thank you again for being with us. Really appreciate it. So could you tell me a little bit about the soldier that your shul was connected to?
Sure. Thank you, firstly, for inviting me. It's worthwhile spending time with you anyways, so that itself was worth a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So first I want to give a special thank you, both to the OU in general, Rabbi Howard specifically, who actually called me to want to be part of this program. And I felt honored that he actually reached out individually to ask us to be part of this program. And it really resonated with me when this opportunity came up to take it to the next level, to focus on a specific soldier on Yom Zichron. Very much appreciated the opportunity. The soldier is behind me, his name was Netanel Yaakov, sounds like his name was Nati, Elkouby, and received the plaque, and it was very striking, and we put it up in the shul. I didn't say a word about it to anyone before Shabbos. It was put up on Friday, and Friday night, people asked me what's with the plaque. I said, just right now it's there to focus on the specific soldier. And people read it, stopped by, it looked like something intriguing. They read it. And I did some research on the soldier myself, mostly through online articles, which I found mostly in Hebrew, but figured out most of what was being said, I think, if I translated it correctly. And he was a special person without question. And truth is, every person who died at Kiddush Hashem is something unique and special to him. But to focus on a specific person and what he was all about was something which was very meaningful. He was a father of 5 children. And that itself, really, Pete, you read that, we're dealing with a person who had a whole family structure to him. And the impact that his death had caused, not just on him and his family, was obviously quite significant. I actually found then online a recording of the last words that he shared with his soldiers, with his unit.
Wow.
And telling them, I love you, to his soldiers, right before they went out to battle. And I heard it, and I heard the words, and I was like, it's almost like it brought tears to my eyes, and thinking about that moment, and that was his last really connection to his unit. But thinking about the love he had, obviously, for his unit, and certainly by extension, to soldiers around him. And then thinking about that, translating that love to his family, and that loss that they had to suffer through and went through was something which was very, very, very powerful, very powerful. And when I shared about it Shabbos morning, spoke about the concept of the connection that we want to have both to Eretz Yisrael and to people specifically. And what I focused on was that when you take a large number, it is very, very hard to really connect. And unfortunately, the numbers are too big to fathom and to wrap our heads around. Focusing on one person makes it that much easier. And when there's a picture and when there's a story and there's a person, that itself made it very great ability to connect. And I think really people did. It resonated with people. And Baruch Hashem, I think it made an impact.
Amazing. Thank you. And you mentioned Yom Zichron, and correct me if I'm wrong, your shul typically has not done something for Yom Zichron. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. It's not something which was part of what we did. And this year I felt it was very appropriate to focus on it, to talk about it, to mention it, and to actually make a real connection to not just the army in general and those who were lost, but to a specific person in that way. And it was very powerful. The day afterwards, myself and Rabbi Goldschmidt, who's the Rav of the shul across the street, we worked together with a lot, who also did the program as well. We did a presentation like we do every year in the girls' high school in Yom Ha'atzmaut. We both brought our pictures. So let's both bring our pictures of our soldiers. And we spoke about each one of us, the person who we had commemorated and memorialized, and then spoke about the concept of each shul taking on, and that itself was a very powerful message when we focused together, each shul doing it in their own way, by making a specific point about it.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point because each shul is going to have their own flavor of what it looks like. Some shuls may have a much more formal Yom HaZikaron or Yom HaAtzmaut, and here in your shul, you're not going to have the same formal structure that other places may have, but the notion of remembering, the notion of giving kavod, the notion of giving a iloi for the neshama, for the soul of the one who died al Kiddush Hashem, is something which is clearly very much part of the culture and part of the values of your shul. And to your point, it's not all done the same. Every shul is doing it differently, and it's just beautiful to hear that. Yeah. And I'm curious, how was it received? Being that your shul perhaps was not as accustomed to seeing a soldier maybe in the hallway of the shul, how did people in the shul receive this?
I only heard positive, and for many people came over to me after the evening, after I spoke, and throughout Shabbos, when they were talking about the idea of the soldier, very positive. And people appreciated the fact they had an opportunity to connect, and something they wouldn't have naturally done. It means, had we not made a point out of it, it would have naturally have happened for most people. But this way was a way of actually focusing on it, then I only heard positive feedback.
Right. So you clearly value deeply the service of these soldiers. Like, could you articulate that for us just a little bit in terms of the value? Clearly, you're putting it up in your office, putting it up in your shul. You mentioned to me a beautiful story before, which I'm going to ask you to tell everyone here about the Tehillim that you said recently. How do you conceptualize, how do you see the soldiers in Eretz Yisrael and your relationship to them? And if you could please repeat that story, because it's such a moving.
Yeah, so let me share the story which you're referring to, and then I'll use that as a segue to the question at large. Just last week, we had a fellow whose name was Binyamin Shimoni. He lived there for a number of years, and then from Eretz Yisrael, and then moved back to Eretz Yisrael. Him, his wife, he has two daughters, two young daughters, a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And he came back here last week for a few days for a visit on business. And I saw him, and right away we got it was very exciting. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. And I said, "How things been going?" And he said he just got back a few weeks ago from 8 months of service. And he started telling me about, firstly, the fact that he was never actually even called up because he'd been in America for a number of years, and therefore he actually somehow fell out of the radar. He said right after October 7th, he volunteered himself. He called his commander and said, I want to serve. And he came up. He was there for 8 months, almost straight. Obviously, had days off here and there. He said he has two little kids, two little daughters who were always asking, Eifo Abba, Eifo Abba. And he spoke about the difficulties for his children, for his wife, obviously, throughout the 8 months. Spoke about the nisim that he had. He was a commander. He has 25 soldiers under his command. And the nisim that his unit had, the siyata d'shmaya they had, the mesirus nefesh that they went through, really living in unspeakable conditions for most of those 8 months. It was incredible. And then he spoke about that in his unit itself, there were at least 3 others who volunteered, who weren't called up. 2 of them had their 6th child already, and therefore really essentially not required to serve. 1 of them was past the age of service. And he said they got together and they really bonded in a way they had never bonded before. And it was very moving. I spoke to him for like a half hour during the day. And then that day, during Mincha Ma'ariv, which was last week, he came, and we always say Tehillim for the soldiers and for the Matzav in Eretz Yisrael between Mincha Ma'ariv. We said Tehillim as regular. And before we said Achenu, as we always do, I said, Binyamin, can you come up? And he said, and he was like, wasn't sure what I wanted. He said, you don't have to speak. I just want to talk about you. And I spoke exactly about this point, about his service, about the 8 months, about the mesirus nefesh, about the nisim, about his volunteerism, all those aspects. And then I said, this is the person that we've been davening for all these past 9 months. Like, let's connect to something which is real. There's not just a esoteric concept. There's someone here, a person who we all know, who's been here. And I said, let's sing Achenu together. And we sang Achenu. It was a very, very, very powerful moment when we were singing Achenu with the person, my arms around him, and we were singing in front of the shul. It was a very, very powerful moment. And that's really been the message that I've been trying to share, both to myself and to the shul at large, is that the connection, the appreciation, the love that we need to have for what all the soldiers are doing is unparalleled in terms of how we have to feel. And it's something which is it needs to be articulated and reminded and focused on, because it doesn't always happen naturally, especially after so many months, something which is very hard. And I've always been a person who, like, as an Eretz Yisrael, would thank the Chayalim. So, but I realized that Amir, thank you, was like, it's nothing. And the truth is that when I was in Eretz Yisrael a second time after the OU mission, I went on my own with my son, and we sponsored a barbecue that, from the shul. We went down to a base to be there with them, and it was such a powerful experience. My son, who was almost 13 then, and first of all, the experience for him and the appreciation that he had.
Yeah,
and
that must have been quite a trip.
Yeah, they also gave him a grand time. They took him in there. They put him on top of the Jeep with a submachine gun, and he had a great time with that. But it was something very powerful. And we videoed. I spoke to them in Hebrew, and we videoed it, and I spoke about how much it means to our shul and to us that you're doing. And I feel like that was the least we can do, to have some level of expressing in a real way appreciation. And again, as the months goes on, it becomes more and more difficult to just feel the level of connection, and everything we can do is powerful. So last week when Benjamin came back, that was powerful. With Zichron was powerful. Each step as we can do is powerful and important.
Yeah. So I love that framing. In other words, is just such a deep sense of a deep sense of gratitude for the incredible self-sacrifice that these soldiers.
And the recognition of Mesiras Nefesh. I think that's really what it is. Recognition of Mesiras Nefesh. The fact that people, many of them don't have to be there.
Right.
They're
So
there.
think of this unit.
And even those who have to be there, like, they're all in. They're all in. And I think it's a lesson for all of us. We should all be as all in as they are in everything we're doing in Avodas Hashem.
Amen. We should be inspired from what they're doing, and they should just have hatzlacha. They should have success. And the neshama of Netanel, Yaakov, Elkouby should continue to have an aliyah in your shul. It's clearly you are doing a lot in your shul to ensure that his neshama and that all this is remembered, all the neshamas are remembered, and that you continuously are being inspired and giving gratitude towards those soldiers who are still on the front line. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and Hashem should just bring shalom to the entire region and to the entire world.
Amen. And thank you for all that you're doing on behalf of the OU and all that OU is doing as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.